Welcome back to another episode of Talks with Wine. No, we can keep it. Okay, good.
She was about to count us down.
I was. I am your host, Marley.
I am Kamaya.
And I'm Tamara.
The
Your intro's always
right,
cracking me up because she changes them every time. She's like, I'm Kamaya.
Well,
what are we talking about today, Marley?
Please
today,
help me with my
on this beautiful fall evening,
it's cold.
What?
It's cold.
It is
brisk.
brisk.
That don't mean it ain't fall.
We didn't say it wasn't.
I just said
It's just
brisk.
Boston.
It's nice.
She said
And
it's nice
fall
for who?
evening.
I mean, I had a light jacket on today. It's nice.
I had a scarf.
Should have had a scarf. Let me tell you what we're talking about. We're not talking about scarves. We're talking about mental health tonight. Yep. And we know how stigmatized mental health is in the community.
Is it? Are you sure?
Wow. Whose community?
Are you sure?
Our community.
Indian.
The black community as
Yeah.
a whole.
And
Just
the
that
Hispanic community as a whole.
whole. Just that whole. But just
and the
them.
minority community.
But just
them.
just
us.
that
Just
community.
us and them.
Okay.
Not
Okay.
like not the
Well,
others.
yes. In our communities, mental health is very stigmatized. And I think these days it is something that is becoming more of a topic of discussion because we're definitely trying to move forward. I think lately we've definitely started touching up on transforming and breaking generational curses.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is one of the major things that we need to kind of sway away from as Black people. And I think as millennials, we're definitely...
I'm not a millennial.
You are a millennial.
It sounds so
It does. It
young,
sounds weird.
like
You're
a
all like-
grown woman.
As a 90s baby, we are trying to
I'm
break
She called that a
away
90s baby. So.
from the stick. Well, I don't know what the hell she wanted to be, but
Listen, I scooted my butt across the
I
89
wasn't-
line.
But this is the thing, I wasn't talking to her. I'm just saying in general, as a 90s baby, we are trying to break away from the
We are.
stigma
We are.
that surrounds mental health.
And I think the conversation pieces are being led, luckily, by people, with
Sense.
with the common sense to kind of bring us the proper information.
What is common sense? I just said this at work today.
Common sense is not always so
Common
common.
sense is not always common.
Very, very true.
It is not
It's
always
quite
common.
expensive.
I think it really is, though.
Oh.
Gosh, I think tonight I don't want it to be too
Proper.
Heavy,
I don't want it to be too heavy.
I get
First
it.
of all,
but we're gonna break through.
but we're
and
going
talk about.
to talk about it. All right, so I know I've come to terms more so with knowing that we all face different traumas and different life events.
Right.
How we cope with those events are
Cope.
Oh,
What are your coping skills?
I'm not asking you
Cope.
that. I
Okay.
didn't even ask the question yet.
Okay, I'm sorry. Get to it, sis. Get to it.
As far as coping, I think we all have healthy ways and unhealthy ways of coping, depending on how you look at it. Because some people may cope by drinking lots of wine. Some people, some people go to the gym and.
I feel seen.
I am seen. Cheers.
So, to open up the conversation, what would be some ways that you guys cope, whether it's healthy or unhealthy? Because, like I said, we look at it differently depending on who you are. Because I don't know about going to the gym.
So you mean like
every day?
What are some ways that you
Deal with your
healthy
emotions.
ways that you what you're like?
It doesn't have to. I mean, if you want to mention the unhealthy ways, that's fine.
Okay, well,
We could do both.
we'll get to that. I was
Yeah,
saying, we'll
I
get
was
to
gonna
that.
say we should do both.
So,
Because then that way we can show, you can talk about what works for you and what works for you.
Right.
What doesn't work for you.
true. So I'll start off by saying the healthy ways that I feel like I channel my emotion and try to deal with, I guess, mental stress or those kind of issues. I definitely try to dance, like freestyle from the house. Music is like my number one therapy. I will put on music as loud as I possibly can. That's probably why I'm half deaf now. But
It
like,
makes sense.
It does make
That
sense.
makes sense.
I blast. Music, dancing, honestly, creative writing, like journaling, poetry, that kind of stuff. Like taking pictures of random things. Like, that's therapeutic for me. That helps me to release it.
is
Yeah,
your therapy.
creativity is really my therapy. It helps me to just channel my emotions, and it helps me recenter, and it helps me get back to, okay, whatever I was bugged out about, now that I've, been able to recenter, was it really that deep? I kind of get a chance to kind of like reevaluate all the things. I get to look back and reflect, like, okay, let's come down from this.
So that's your healthy.
Those are my healthy ways.
What are your? Do you want?
I want to
discuss?
share you guys' healthy ways first.
Oh,
Thank
okay.
you. Let's go around the table, shall we?
My healthy ways. I think right now I'm not dealing healthily with my stress, but
That is a
that is
testimony.
something that I'm.
That is a testimony. I'm proud of you.
I wanted to ask who this was.
It's
Are you sure?
Annie,
Because I just heard.
are you okay?
It's me. It's me.
Did we just hear a confession?
That was a testimony, sis, not a confession.
Right. Like, hold up.
Ownership. I love it.
Yes,
Come
I'm
on.
trying to be more accountable these days.
I felt that in my soul. Someone's birthday helps her a lot.
Yeah, but I think before, my healthy coping mechanism was the gym, and life happened again, and I wasn't able, like, I haven't been,
clothes. No.
and the gym closed, so that's not
it
even.
really did. It really did.
So that was my healthy way of coping.
Okay.
And I think after a while, it was just like, you know what? I fell back into like a pattern of overwhelming stress. So I think the coping was just like, okay. And then once more got on top of it, it was like, nah, I can't do this. Like, I can't.
So like shutting down, basically.
Yeah. So like I would shut down.
Would you consider that you're unhealthy?
That is my unhealthy.
Okay.
Oh, so your healthy is the gym, and your
Unhealthy
unhealthy.
is
Is me.
shutting
Okay,
Shutting
y'all
down
come back
and
to me
not-
for my unhealthy. I ain't confessing that yet. Kamaya?
So my healthy ways, the ladies will tell you, I'm very one with myself. I know what triggers me, and I know what fixes me. I have anger issues, so I have to meditate.
Look at this.
I have to meditate. Like, and I mean meditation, whether it be tuning people out and sitting in a quiet place by myself, which is triggering for me because I don't like being alone. It often helps me.
In the dark? Or just
No darkness.
Oh. Not
We just talked about this too. At all.
I don't like being alone, but I notice when I'm really angry and I'm going through something, I have to sit because I can only talk to myself and talk myself out of what thoughts.
Your mind has already conjured
Yes.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this also goes into journalism because journaling.
Journalizing.
Right. This also goes to journaling because when I'm alone, I often write
Yeah.
because what I want to say, I need to write it before I say it. Because it may not come out as cushioned as pillows, you know? Or I walk because
I sound like Willow.
because if I will be honest with you, my unhealthy ways of dealing with coping, my unhealthy coping mechanisms, my unhealthy ways of dealing with my emotions, I lash out. I don't like to argue. I use my hands.
Oh,
And-
fist of fury over here. Okay.
Right. And that is not good.
Right.
That is not good. And when I mean, this is the thing. I don't want to say I use my hands and I fight people. I'm the type of person, I will break a mirror. I will punch a wall until
angry.
So you get physical.
I get physical.
Okay.
I spend money.
Yes, you. It's trying to.
Did Marty just?
She did.
Ooh.
Wait, we're gonna save that. Come on.
Yeah. I spend money. Unnecessary, excessive money.
Wait, hold on. We didn't get that deep into the unhealthy ones because I got some.
All right, guys. That's all the time we have today. Wait, we gotta come back to my unhealthy. So
I eat.
Oh yeah.
When I am dealing with something, I think that's my biggest one because I'll be mad and then to make me feel better, I'll eat some ice cream or some bacon. It just
bacon.
the combo.
and oxtail. Come on, it does something to me.
You're not gonna put that in your
But-
unhealthy coping. Okay, you gotta take. Oxtail do nothing. to you.
And the food is accompanied by wine or Henny or.
That escalated.
It's real crazy over here.
Henny.
But I noticed that you know, being pregnant, I'm not drinking wine, of course, no Hennessy and stuff like that. And it's just like,
You gotta find a new coping mechanism.
And I've been meditating a lot more.
And you have
doing
to
yoga a lot
address
more.
yourself way more. Because you can't do that.
I didn't ask you to read me. Go
No,
ahead.
but
What
you
are you
over here attacking us.
We're
Like,
over here attacking us. No, I'm piggyback with
money.
you. I'm gonna add, yes, meditation is also a part of my
Oh,
healthy
nice.
coping mechanisms. Unhealthy substances.
Ooh.
So, like, I'll skip. You see me, see you.
doesn't
I'll-
matter which ones.
No, it really doesn't.
No, it won't.
Well,
Not like that.
wait. I'm not out here.
Wait.
Let me scale
It's
back.
legal.
Okay.
How about that?
What substance are you trying?
It doesn't matter.
Ooh,
But it's legal.
My chest started itching. And I was...
Or I should say, I used to get a lot of like weed, wine, liquor. Period. Didn't matter what it was.
But this is the thing. People don't tell you. Oftentimes, you shouldn't drink liquor when you coping because it just enhances.
Honestly, we're not supposed to be drinking these spirits anyways, but that's a whole other topic. 'Cause I'm still gonna drink this wine. But retail, like spending money because I'm just annoyed or online shopping.
Ooh, you
That was
need a
me
pair of shoes
earlier.
to make you feel better.
A bag or something.
And then you buy and you spend all this money on this stuff, and when they come and then
You-
you look at that bill you're supposed
And
to
you're
pay.
still empty. You know, that's the thing that really stopped me from doing it because you're still empty.
Can I tell you what stopped me from doing it? Because I don't know about everybody else, but one thing that really, really, really triggers like depression and stuff for me is, and this is bad, being broke. Because I can't depend on nobody. So if I have to open up and ask somebody and be vulnerable, when you are broke and you got to be vulnerable and ask somebody for something, and I'm not saying money makes the world go around.
Are these lights hot?
Because
Ooh, it's
You
I
can-
black night there. Why?
It's warmer than usual.
you can cope. Like, if you know how to manage your money and you got $20 to get you to 2 weeks, you can cope. But when you are adults,
First of all, wait.
yes, I know. I have friends who do it. I have a friend who will stretch $5 for 2 weeks.
The power. Connect me with them.
But can I tell
When we're
you,
done with
she's
this-
the one who taught me because
Is it the budgetista?
because I like conditioned myself to believe that I need at least $300-400 to get through to my next paycheck. And when I get mad and you take that $200-300 and you go buy you all this Fenty, and then you looking and you're like, wait, I don't
Did you have
have
another question?
any
I
money.
do have another question. I don't want to talk about
Right.
that one.
I don't
no
know.
more.
But doesn't it makes you vulnerable, and then when you're
No, it
vulnerable
does,
and you
it
have no
does.
one to turn to,
And when you're honestly, and the thing about, I should say, solitude is a big thing for me now with coping.
Nature.
Like
she yelled at me. She told me it's good to be alone.
I
It
did.
is.
I'm
It really is,
I'm
though.
a big solitude
I
person.
love
I have
my space.
I've been with my significant other for quite some time
32 years.
and counting. Okay, but
They've been together for 3 decades.
we're about as old as the Great Wall of China. It's been
I'm
a while.
just saying,
But
they start to look alike now.
When it comes, that is true. When it comes to like solitude, I respect that my significant other, because the thing about coping when you're in relationships and your mental health status when you're in a relationship, they have to respect that you have to respect your coping mechanisms and vice versa. You have to respect theirs. So solitude is a big thing for me. So we can be in the same space, we can be in the same house, but I need to be alone. And honestly, God forbid anything were to happen between us or, whatever. I have no fear of being alone. I have no fear whatsoever of being alone. But I know that's a big thing for people.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. And I'm not attacking you.
No, I was going to say, but this is the funny thing. So this is the funny thing with me, right? And I feel like this ties into mental health a lot because I was never big on relationships. Y'all know this is my first real big girl relationship. Not no, my grown up relationship. Not no, excuse my French, fuckboy shit. You know what I mean?
Aww.
But as a child growing up, I came from a family where every time there was a problem, you turned to your family.
Yeah.
Every time there was a situation, you turned to your family. We read the Bible. We went to church. We prayed everything away.
It's beautiful.
You get what I mean? And I know you're going to talk about that.
That's
so
a
I'm
big
like,
thing.
that's
That's a
going
big
back
thing in the
That
Black
leads,
community.
that
though,
leads
so-
me to another
Way
question.
away.
because, I got the best of both worlds growing up. So go ahead.
I don't know if we should let you continue.
No,
Hold on.
go ahead. Tell me.
What were you guys taught about mental health growing up? Like, honestly, for me, my mom was one of those. Don't talk to nobody outside of the family. No, not even that. That was my grandmother. I feel like, how are you getting?
You know, I know.
That's not it. But we were more so, my grandmother was the turn of church, but my mom was more so like, hide it.
Deal with it.
You know, like, it's
you
just.
You say your mom's a Leo, right?
She is a Leo.
So they put that in the den.
Yeah, I was taught to kind of compress those things because, like, even I think middle school, like after a traumatic event, they were like, yo, you need to see a counselor. You need to see somebody and talk this out because these are not healthy things for a person your age to be going through. And it's just me, my mom, and my brothers, and I'm just like, Mommy, they asked me to see this person about this situation. And my mom's like, don't talk to nobody. Don't talk to no white people about our family. Like, don't. Yeah, they don't need to be in our business, you know. And then will come my grandmother talking about some prayed away. So we weren't taught about mental health. We weren't told to access it. We weren't even. I didn't even know about it. And
see, it's funny because. Like I said, I was a bad child. But what made me bad was I didn't look like the conventional child growing up. I had 2 chipped teeth, long pigtails, big bifocal glasses in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade. So I used to get picked on a lot. And I used to fight. But I, as any other child who watches wrestling, did not fight the way people fight. So, you know, I was aggressive.
Ma'am.
I was very aggressive.
She had to get WWE Raw.
But then I was also
everything.
I was also weird. Like, you know, I would sit to myself, like, I would legit sit like Indian style, or like I would put my legs behind my head just because I knew I was flexible. So I would be that child alone in the corner, just doing the weirdest stuff. And I remember in the 4th grade, they went to my grandmother and told my grandmother that there's something wrong with me and she needs to be in counseling. And it was one of those things where, so, you know, little privy, my grandmother adopted us. My grandmother got full custody of us. So it was one of those things where my grandmother was like, yo, if you don't act right, they're going to take you away from me. So when you see this lady,
act right.
Act
like you got some sense.
So in 4th grade, what was I, like 10? I was sitting in the room with them charts and with all the smiley face, all the faces on it.
How do you feel today?
What is your emotion today? And it was always I feel like, I used to say this from a young child, I feel like boiled chicken, unseasoned boiled chicken. Like, I'm just, are you happy?
What does that mean?
I just feel like, ain't no feeling. Like, I'm a kid. Like, you can't ask a kid at 4 years old.
I would just be fine.
No, I'm alright. I feel
I'm
like
fine.
I'm hungry.
Any more questions?
But it progressed because that was 4th grade. And in 7th grade, when my father died, my anger levels intensified. And I was cussing out teachers. Imagine, I'm going to just be real with y'all. Going to school in Miami, your teachers was as ruthless as the kids in class.
That's a fact.
So my teachers would say things. And like, ooh, Mr. Dennis, I wish you would watch this.
Scale it back.
They would
scale it back.
I had a teacher one year
Rein it in.
call me a derogatory term. I was in the 7th grade. And he called me a very aggressive derogatory. And I took the book and I threw it at him.
Well.
And they thought, oh, well, her father died. She needs to go back into counseling. She's dealing with anger issues. So.
Well, no, that's just you calling me out my name.
So I was forced into therapy, but it was to make sure that they're not looking at what's going on. Nothing was going on in my home, but my grandmother didn't want her house disrupted.
Of course. So I think for me, growing up, I grew up in a household where it's honestly,
I hate the way she just.
I have to, because I'm older now, so when I look back at it, it's kind of, it's not funny, but it's just like one of those things where all you can do is shake your head and learn to do better for your child or for, you know, your peers around you. But I grew up with a lot of, I grew up in a place where my parents were like, listen, I want you to vocalize. I want you to express yourself. I want you to be able to speak your mind. Here's the catch. I want you to speak your mind. I want you to say what's on your mind. Don't be afraid to come to me. We are open. We are here for you.
Oh, they tricked you.
However.
Because I heard that line before.
But and I'm not trying to like throw my dad under the bus type stuff, but my dad battled a lot with alcoholism. So on a sober mind, he's saying these things to me because I'm a daddy's girl. At the end of the day, that's still my man's $100 grand, and and so like I battle with kind of having like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde for a dad, because it was like, Daddy, I gotta tell you, like I kind of have a crush on this boy. I kind of have these feelings, and he'd be like, that's great. And then later on, if the alcohol started hitting, don't be a hoe, don't come home pregnant, don't be a little bitch, don't be. You just told me earlier that. Wait, are you the same dad that was here 10 hours ago? Or did the overnight shift go bad? What happened? And for my mom, it was like, for me talking to my mom, I just felt like because she was dealing with my dad as a wife, she had a hard time being able to really kind of like, she was always there for me, my brother. I want to make this very clear. But I think she had a hard time because I witnessed her not being able to stand up for herself in a very controlling relationship. It made it kind of, for me to be like, you're saying these things, but I ain't gonna tell nobody nothing. I'm gonna just keep it to myself. And then I just kind of got into this thing of like, deal with it, like get over it, because nobody cares. Like, oh, you need to cry? What are you crying for? Like, why are you crying? So it's not self-soothe, but I would basically like self-soothe. I would basically be like, if something happened, I would go to my room. I would probably like, it would look crazy. Now, like, I'm really thinking about it, I would probably like break down, and I would give myself legit 5 minutes to break down. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, go through it, like, like have a whole fit, clean myself up, and then go and get over it, and go on. And I think that a lot of my friends, in certain degrees, it may not be like that extensive, but I think a lot of my friends and a lot of people in our generation and the generation before us and so on, and even the ones underneath us now, I feel like they are dealing with that. But I will give credit to the generation underneath us, because I feel like they're like, yo, I don't want to do that. I want to deal with it. Right. I don't want to do what you're doing.
And that's what I mean as far as us breaking these stigmas.
Yeah.
So one thing that I'm more focused on now is just understanding the emotions that I project. Mm-hmm. So because all of those suppressed emotions, as an adult, I'm now realizing that, that one may not be healthy, because for me, I'm very passive. Yeah. But I've always been told.
No. I feel like on this side. Let's not. I
feel like there's a mirror right here, and she's just like.
No, but this is a very
put down.
It's a very important conversation, because
it is.
Focusing on it. When I first did counseling in the 6th grade, she was like, "You're very passive." Like, that is something that she told me straight off the bat. Yes, and like I told you, I would sit there.
Yeah, she cut, because you know why? She cut through, and she didn't, and it was like care for you. She wasn't like, oh, you're just dealing. Okay. She's like, no, you're a passive, honey, and there are better ways for this. And you're like passive.
After my mom was like, don't speak to nobody, I was like, well, I can't see you, lady, so because I was gonna do what she said. But for me, I was knowing that is how I am, and knowing that this is something that has already been told to me years prior. Now I'm like, how do I undo? How do I
let's undo
dismantle these. I think dismantling is a big thing this year. Is just dismantling a lot of things,
releasing those, like undoing those habits, undoing those, because honestly, my friends joke around a lot because they call me the hard ass, because I really will tell you, well, honestly, okay, I hear you. I'm here to support you. But you're kind of dwelling in this right now. I really don't have time for you to dwell. Mm-hmm. What's proactive? How can we get through this? And although that is good, it's good to also be, and I'm not always hard, but I can be like soft, but I find myself, I think because of childhood conditioning, because of things that I'm still trying to dismantle for myself, I do find myself being like, I want to be soft, but not too soft, because I want you to pick yourself up.
Mm-hmm. And I'll be like,
I know, but sometimes I feel like I'm my dad.
But so that's the thing. Some people need that, because,
and it's not bad to be my dad, but it's just I have to come into my own.
Yeah, like I have to come into my own.
Because for me, growing up, we didn't express and show emotion. That was just something that was not in my household. We didn't. The I love yous, or what's going on, or how are you feeling today? Why are you sad?
I had a lot of affection.
Why are you angry? we didn't
crazy.
speak like that. So like, I
Oh,
want to
just pray?
say, no. When I moved, we just prayed. Yes, we definitely prayed. But when I moved up here and I got away from the Miami scene, and I was up here with people from totally different. Like, I had friends up here with their parents were loving. Like, they would get off the phone and they'd tell their mother, "I love you," and I'm like,
uncommon. It's like it's uncommon,
right?
And it's weird
Because it's unfamiliar.
Yeah,
And that's the thing. It was just like I remember when it happened. I was like 26, and I had just got into an ugly fight with my sister, and I was just like, "Why are you so angry?"
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's all I could say was, "Why?"
to yourself or to her?
To myself.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we got into a fight and I trashed everything in my room. Like, we got into a physical fight and then I trashed everything. I broke my mirrors. I broke, like, if I could, I would have broke my TV, but I was just angry and I needed to release it. And I had to walk, because if I did not walk, I would have continued to break things.
And be homeless, because your landlord would have been like, "You out your mind." What came upstairs like?
But that's the
Hey,
thing.
It break into your house?
Yes.
It was then when I was just like, "Yo, you are angry,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to figure out what is going on."
What's the focal? What's the pinpoint?
Right.
Have you seen a therapist or like?
Oh yeah,
Not.
I have.
It doesn't have to be recent, but
No, I was in therapy. I was in therapy last year because my phases, they were different. I went from being angry to being really sad because I realized what I was angry about.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the things I was angry about, I could not change. And I did not. I'm a control freak.
Really?
Oh yes, I'm a control freak. So when I
We
find
didn't know
out
that.
when I find out what's making me angry, and I realize that it is out of my control, I
It makes
instantly
you more angry.
No, it made me sad because it's like your anger turns into defeat, and anyone who likes to be in control does not like being defeated.
Yeah.
Well, I have slight control issues, and I'll tell you honestly, it just makes me more. It doesn't. I don't know if it makes me more angry or if it just makes me aggressively, kind of like untamably headstrong. And it's almost like it's too much. It's like there's just no point of it. It's like, yo, what are you doing? Like, why are you so worked up about this? Like,
And
why
I
does it
haven't
bother
gotten-
you so
and
much?
That's the thing. I wasn't able to get to that point that quickly.
I didn't
bother me.
I ain't nobody get that quick.
Oh.
I'm 30. I just discovered this about
I realized I
4 hours ago before we got here.
So I realized I couldn't do it, and I want to say it was the end of 2017, 2018. I was just like, you need to talk to somebody because
That's real.
I was just really sitting in there, and I was just like, me and my sisters, we shared an apartment, and I was just like, I need to move out of my house with my sisters and live alone one. I was like,
living alone did it for me.
I was like, I need to live alone one, because right now I'm not dealing. I had issues and I'm projecting them onto my sisters.
That's a big thing, because people, not to cut you off.
No, you're right.
But when you say that, I just want to like piggyback, because projection is
Ooh.
so major, and people literally don't want to attest or acknowledge that they project. Everybody projects. Everybody projects. And if
you look up projection, you're gonna see my face.
So you're gonna see all of us in a group picture like, hey, like it's just a big thing for you to be able. I think that's a healing point, though. That's a point. You're not gonna recognize projection until you want to heal. Mm-hmm. And I keep touching my core because I'm grateful for my personal growth and my self-work that I've done to acknowledge, like, when you're in a relationship, when you're in friendships, you know, like, example of projection will be like, if I told you that I was busy and I couldn't help you today, and you were like, in your mind, it's like, oh wow, my friend's just brushing me off, but you don't know what I'm doing over here and why I can't help you. You just took it as like, legit, you just took it as like, oh, okay, fine, don't help me. Like, yo, and now you're projecting your how you receive my message, because you came to the point where you think, you know
this
what I'm
is
saying?
what it was with me. I would notice me and my sisters would get into little comment arguments, and rather than accepting the way they deal with conflict, I wanted them to realize, hey, I'm trying to talk this out and solve this situation. come sit down and talk with me.
And that's the thing. You also have to acknowledge,
Not
like Tamara
everyone.
was saying, like you also have to acknowledge how people cope with their issues
And
their
that was
boundaries.
my problem. I wasn't able to look at how everyone else.
And that falls back into the control thing, because it's like no matter what, it's like, because you'll sit there and be like, but I want to talk this out. Okay, right. But I don't, because I'm very much a person where if I feel it's getting heated, I'm not going to. I've grown past the point of like withdrawing from the conversation. I have done that, but what I will tell you is, listen, this is getting to a point where I don't energetically, I'm not up for this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the capacity for this, and I'm not trying to argue with you.
Right.
So I'm gonna remove myself from this. I'm gonna give you some time, and if you start screaming and flipping out, I'm gonna be like, I'm not gonna leave you. I'm not, because I'm just not. I might get up and walk away. I might go in the other room. I might come back and be like, listen, when you come down, we can talk. But I'm not coming up there. I'm not meeting you up there. Because if I meet you up there, one, you brought me to a point where I can't come back down from. I haven't grown in that level yet. I haven't. And a lot of people don't bring me there. So I don't think I ever do. I don't know if I need to grow from it yet, because I haven't been there often enough. But
acknowledging that's
I was going to say, because Marley's seen me there. And she
has
bear witness.
I think each of us have been at a point in our lives where it's like,
rescued me from a point.
like it's way too much for me right now.
And Marley, and it's so bad because I don't like to use Marley's weaknesses as a strength in a sense, but her passive aggressiveness has gotten me out of a situation. You know what I mean? If Marley wasn't there,
got you, because I didn't have bail money.
Marley was able to be like, you know what, we won't even get into that. But all I'm saying is, when I moved out of my sister's house and I sat in my own apartment and my sadness grew, and I was just like, I need to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Because
I would say I didn't go to like a psychologist or a psychiatrist per se. There was a period where after the situation had gone down in my household with my parents, basically my dad flipping out, this whole ordeal, my teachers noticed that I was very withdrawn from the resilient, bright student that they were used to. And so just so, she's so involved and she cares so much. And I was recommended to go to the guidance counselor on a weekly basis. And for me, if it works, cool. If it doesn't, I don't think you should be forced into going. I think that everybody has their version of therapy. If you need to go to therapy, go to therapy. Please. If you want to see a psychiatrist, a psychologist,
you don't have to tell nobody. They don't tell nobody.
Go. Nobody can shun you for that. If you think that you're, whatever it is, if you want to handle it in a spiritual way, if you want to handle it in a creative way, and those things channel for you and they work just as well as therapy, or, if you feel that they do it. And if you feel like you got to go afterwards, go. But when I was in high school speaking with this woman, I just felt like, at first, I'm not going to lie, I came in with my guard up because I just felt like, you want to be in my business because you want to know what happened. That's how I felt. I'm 17. I'm about to be a senior. I don't care about you. And what happened in my household? Bitch, I've been dealing with this for years. So for me, one, now being older, I'm like, damn, when you say you've been dealing with it for years, because you compressed it, because you got used to it, you thought it was normal, so you just dealt with it. It's not normal. I recognize that. The things that happened, they were not normal. I recognize that. But at the time, it was just more like, and I think even then I recognized it, but I was kind of like, it's too late now, and I don't need nobody to come in on no horse and save me. Like, you are not my knight in shining armor. I don't need to talk to you. And I felt a sense of resentment for, no offense, but this white woman trying to sit here and be like, hey, so listen, so like, you want to tell me what's going on at home? And I'm like, honestly, it's just things that you probably can't relate to. And I felt like she was trying to pacify me. I felt like she was like, well, listen, I just want you to know it's not your fault. But it was like, no disrespect. I'm not stupid and I know it's not my fault. But it doesn't mean, I know there are a lot of people that don't know it's not their fault. Right. So I guess I felt like I felt like I had already healed myself and I had already figured it out.
It was in a sense like she tried to just group you with everybody.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And I know it annoyed me. So more than anything, I was just going and kind of like, when she would ask me questions, I honestly just kind of pacified her. Like, I legit was like, oh, yes, of course. No, and I feel so good. I feel great. Yes, I'm so happy today. I'm going to go to class and do my homework and have a fabulous day. Thanks. And leave. Like, and then when I got out, I was just like, okay, that's done. So now I can go on and go cope in my unhealthy ways. I'm about to go smoke with my friends till God knows what time. Then I'm going to get up with so-and-so. I'm going to drink till whenever. And my mom's probably working a double, so I'll be home at like 5 a.m. Bet.
How about now? Like, are you...
That's none of your business. No, I'm
No,
none of your goddamn business.
would you be... Because I know you say you deal with it differently. Like,
yeah.
Would you be open to seeing someone now?
Totally. I'm going to be
What
honest
is
with
something-
you. There was a period after I had my daughter, I believe, and I still do, I believe I experienced postpartum depression. And this is something that I probably have not told many people, but here we are. I think I experienced... Yes, please make a light, because y'all know I don't like that. Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Because that was a big one for you.
I know.
High five, friend. Come on.
Because I felt like I was dealing with a lot of it, and I think my boyfriend did as well. I think my boyfriend did as well. I think we went through it together separately. I think I went through it thinking like I had in my mind all these how I'm gonna do it, control. I was like, oh, this and this and this and that. I had it all laid out. Yeah, you triggered, I know. And
Triggered.
and you know, like, and things would work, and like, like maternity leave and going back to work and feeling inadequate as a just so many things.
Mm-hmm.
And I had reached the point where I was like, yo, I'm about to go. I gotta talk to somebody, like, because I'm gonna be honest with you, you can talk to your significant other and it's beautiful, but
they don't understand.
it's not the same. It's not the same.
You want like someone who's experienced, who knows.
Yeah.
Not even experienced it. Someone who, because
Well, I don't want you to experience it, but I want somebody experienced.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said experience.
Yeah, no. I mean, maybe I'm talking to somebody who did experience
Because
it.
I've had friends who have gone through postpartum depression and they've told their significant others and they're like, well, I just don't understand why it's so difficult to be a mom. And I'm like,
Not you.
It wasn't that. It was more like, I love you and I want you to know that you're doing all the right things, but I really don't know how to support you.
that too.
And that, honestly, is like, damn, because when you think significant other, when you think you're in the household with somebody that's raising the child with you, you're like, oh, okay, like, you know, like, okay, because you're here, it'll be better. But
we
it's
can
like,
do
yo,
this together.
and you are doing it together, but it's not the same.
Mhm.
And if you are, at the end of the day, you are always going to be an individual first. You're always going to be it before you are a mom, before you are a significant other, before you are a daughter, anything. You're always going to be an individual first.
Right.
And so if your individual if you are not good here, you can't service nobody, from your daughter to the goddamn mailman. You can't service nobody.
Right.
Because when he gives you the mail, when he brings you your retail therapy stuff, you tell him thank you if you see him. At least I
Might
do.
give them a nice
Because I get all my
gift
things
card
delivered at
for
work
Christmas.
because I'm still coping.
Yeah.
Okay? So when I see my UPS man, I tell him thank you.
Oh, are you angry?
Maybe. Because you got me.
Okay,
It's not
what
really
about-
seem like I'm over here giving the mailman some sugar.
So what about you? Have you seen a therapist, or are you open to it?
I am very open to it, more so now, because I've come to the point where I've realized all my issues and I've faced them on my own, and I've gotten to a point where I'm like, this is what's wrong, this is what's happened, this is how we got here, this is why we're here. I've sat, because living alone, I lived alone and I lived far. So
True.
I just want
People
her to
have-
remember she lived far.
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 I'm gonna come visit you. Where you at? Taunton.
No.
Right. So I had to
Baby.
I had to face a lot of my emotions myself for a year. So
After coming out of something.
after coming out of a very difficult relationship, I don't want to be like it was toxic, but for me, I felt like we both were toxic to each other.
So it was
So-
toxic.
It was very toxic, and my coping mechanism was the gym. Now I'm this far and I can't get to the gym. So now it's like I'm sitting in the mirror, I'm using substances, and I'm just like, yo, who are you? Like, you just spent 5 years in something. Who are you? And you have to get to know.
And that's tonight's episode, because this is deep.
I have to get to know
you
myself.
said you wanted this to be light.
Yes,
I know, but
so
like,
pick it
for
up
me,
off your back.
for me, it was more so like I don't feel sad about the things that I went through, because even now, dealing with certain stresses, I can cope better. Because now I'm not lashing out like, yo, leave me alone. Like, I'm not projecting those emotions on nobody else anymore.
Yo,
now
that
it's
is a
like
Virgo's line. Okay.
For real, like, yo, get out
Okay.
my face. I don't really care.
Are you done?
So now, after facing myself by myself for a year, now it's like it's a little bit easier for me to do these things. It's a little bit easier for me to correct these issues. So now I'm like,
it's easier for you to, it's easier for you to be like,
I got my shit in the box. I'm ready to take it to the store.
I'm doing it again. Like, okay, let's scale back. Hold up. Like, because you used to do this, and this is not cool.
That's not how it
you
works.
remember what it looked like when you was doing this. Now I feel like your body and your mind are sync, and they're recognizing like, yo, your mind's like,
more so with
your mind's like, nope, we're not doing this.
Because I felt the effects that it had on my body.
Right.
So if I worked out for a year to get this body, and now I'm going back to heavily drinking, heavily eating, I'm just going back to the things that I don't want to be at no more. So for me now, it's like, okay, so you know these things.
You know
what are we gonna do about
Stop
it?
playing.
Yeah, like, get it together.
Your body was like,
get it together. And so now I'm like, yo, I'm trying to find the right person to talk to, because she gotta be black, she gotta be a woman. Like, there's certain criteria.
See, I thought I wanted a black, that I do want someone who's relatable. I don't, like, I have a whole, because they tell you, you're going to have to date a few therapists.
that
until
is
you
true.
find the
I've
right
heard
one.
that.
I've had some horror stories last year, and the woman that I loved, her prices raised.
I love.
She's like, I love. Ooh.
No, the therapist that I was seeing,
You take
I
Afterpay?
I wish she did, because if I could put her on a payment plan, because she was amazing. Because when I sat in her office, I was able to put my chair up and like just talk to her, and she was right across the street from my job, so it was amazing.
Yes.
And then she was just like, "Oh, my fee went up," and
For everybody?
everybody, and your
Like,
insurance,
and
your insurance doesn't cover it. So then I started. Just,
I think that's a big problem too when it comes to like we're raising mental health awareness,
But
what
it's
about
costly.
affordability?
And then
Costly.
I tried to do the responsible thing. Is I went through my job, went through my health insurance. They gave me a list of therapists, and I saw one lady who talked more than I did.
All right.
Oh no!
She
Did
talked,
she pay you?
Was you at the end of the session? Come out. I was like, okay, so I understand you live in a small house and it's really been bothering you. You feel boxed in. Okay.
more than I did, and I was just like, I'm not going back. I was like, I'm not. So, like, I need my therapist. This is gonna sound ignorant. I don't want her to be on the younger side. I want my therapist to be a little
Seasoned.
Old. Yes, I want her to be seasoned.
Veteran.
Yep.
You want some?
I would
That is my
prefer.
nose.
You want some saison on you?
I would prefer my therapist to be a woman.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't have to be black. She doesn't have to be black.
I'm on the same page with you. I honestly, when I was experiencing what I truly believe was postpartum depression, I had looked into Talkspace, and that's heavily.
Okay.
I had looked into it because it was affordable. You could pay by session, and I was like, okay, I can do this. I can juggle a household. I can juggle a child, and budget and deal with that. And I had done it for about 3 months. This woman and I were emailing from time to time. We would like Skype and speak, and I enjoyed her, but I also still felt like it just wasn't doing it for me. And I know you have to give it some time, but there was a part of me that was like, you know what, I'm actually going to turn to my spirituality.
Okay.
Because I think that's what's going to help reground me. And it doesn't mean that in my journey of my spirituality that I won't come across a time where I do need to revisit and I do need to find a therapist again. Because I'm not actively looking for one. I'm open to it. I will say I'm not closed off to it, which is a big thing for me because I'm very much a person that's like, I will help everyone with their problems. As soon as you want to know about what mine is, I'm like.
And I think that's what a lot of people, I think that's where another stigma.
Yeah, for therapy comes from.
Yeah, because I always tell people, especially my religious people.
I thought you were going to say Marley. I was supposed to be like,
because I'm religious, you know, I'm very into my spirituality, and I just always want people to realize that therapists came from the Lord above. Their schooling, their practice. Their
I just want to be clear. I'm not necessarily religious.
No.
So.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of people's like, oh, I'm going to turn to my spirituality and not seek help. You said something important. I want to start off with my spirituality, and if I need more help, I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
I feel like some people forget that.
But it's also it's okay if you feel like you.
If you don't need it. Like, if you feel like you don't need it,
what works
that's
for you
fine.
may not work for someone else. Because it's like we all grew up in different households. We all have different backgrounds for religion. Like, my mom went through different religions for me growing up, so it wasn't like, oh, let us all turn to Jesus Christ. It was more so just deal with it. But for someone who grew up someone who grew up praying in a way, it's different. Like, you see the stigma differently than someone who's more.
No, I think what I'm trying to say is
spiritual.
What I'm trying to say is, if you realize you focused on your spirituality and it didn't work, try and get something else. Don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid to.
Because someone may be able to meditate. Like, I haven't been in therapy this year. I've been meditating, and it's worked for me. Mm-hmm. So I don't necessarily need
yoga.
Yes. Yeah. So I necessarily may not need to go see a therapist anymore.
But if you felt inclined to, you are open to it.
Yes. And that's what I just want everyone to be open to. When one solution, because if therapy doesn't work for you, there's some other things you need to look into.
Yeah,
and
that's true. That's very true.
Everyone to realize is just look at all avenues.
And mental health is a big thing that I want people to remember. Like, your mind, body, soul, all of those are all in sync. Like, you can't treat your body well, work out, do all those things, and have a fucked up mind.
Ooh, come on now.
You really can't. And you can't have a good ass mind and be like, oh, I'm all in the zen and and you eat and you treating your temple like trash.
Mm-hmm. Like, I'm gonna be real honest with y'all.
You know, but
I'm gonna be honest with y'all, because
I know I'm attacking some people, including myself, as I drink this wine. But
because can I tell you guys one person who I look at and I love looking at their spiritual journey? The Smith family.
What the hell is that?
Will Smith, Jada Pinkett Smith, Jaden. But I'm not looking at them. I
just had to be clear.
I look at their kids.
Yes.
When I look at Willow and Jaden,
that's love.
That is love.
That's the power.
But then they've also learned to like I was listening to just the most recent episode of Red Table Talk. Mm-hmm. It was like a special edition. But they were just talking about like how yeah, they were just talking about how what you put in your body is what comes out of your body. And Jaden said, what you do to your mind is what projects out into the world. Mm-hmm. And I just love that. Like, you get what I mean? You have to remember to take heed to your mind.
And I love their transparency because they're like, oh, listen, like, don't nobody tell y'all to look up to us. And I think that's dope. I'm not asking you to be a role model. I'm not asking you to look up to me. Like, I'm just sharing my story.
The fact that they sit around the red table and have these discussions, because I remember one episode where Willow was saying that she used to cut herself.
Yep.
And Jada was like so unaware. And you think about it, there are families where kids who attempted.
I used to cut.
When my little brother told me, it like, broke my heart.
But I cut differently. I used to cut kids into my arm because I wanted tattoos.
She wanted to be branded. That's not even a tattoo.
She'll be here joining fake fraternities like,
okay.
Come on.
I used to have my sister carve K's into my arm.
You had her help.
You know what?
Anyway.
Thank you for making that light, because you're foolish. You know that? You're real bright.
When we used to get the box.
No, I used to definitely like get to it. Like never artery, but definitely used to get to it. And I was like, my brother was the person who was like, listen, let me tell you something right now. One, Mommy gonna whoop your ass. She find out she gives me a good night to be in here.
The day my grandmother saw that K in my arm, she was just like, you mad?
But that's another point too, because I think West Indian parents or Black parents as well, they think that they can beat it out of us too. Like, You're making it worse.
Let me tell you something. This
You gonna
whooping,
beat me
first
and I'm
of all,
gonna cut even more.
I already anticipated this whooping.
Right.
My skin is so thick. I'm just gonna give you some tears to just make you feel like you done did your job. If you beat me in syllables, I just take breaths in between. Like, I already got this down pat. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I already got this down pat. And I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, so.
You know what? I don't want to go on a tangent, but you know what I used to hate? When they'd be like, oh, you think you're tough? You're not crying? So then you start crying. You want me to give you something to cry about?
I'm already in a position to cry. I'm just numb. I'm just numb.
I don't know
My
what
tear
to do.
ducts are broken.
I don't know what to do. Should I cry? Should I not cry?
You done caught me out
Just
the
wait.
shower. You didn't ask me to go get my own cord. Like,
Or when they
I don't know
slide
if
up
it's
on
slavery
you.
or
When they just sneak up on you.
Sleep.
Ooh!
Let's
Honestly,
not go there.
no,
All right, I'm
please.
triggered.
I don't know.
Please.
I don't
No
know. Did you
flashbacks.
ever experience the whooping? You ever thought you were in the clear? Thought your parents forgot or didn't know?
They let you sit, slide
Yo,
you out.
They let you get through the whole day, even
Like
into
a
the
job.
night.
They like a job. You know how
They made your
job will
favorite
wait.
meal. They let you eat cake and junk food and watch. They didn't even make you wash the dishes. You should have known something was up.
My grandmother, it would be all day. We get home at 2:45 from school, and I am home. I done watched 106 in Park, WWF.
You don't learn all B2Ks. Move.
And I don't know that.
Bum, bum,
Come
bum.
on, yeah. Come here. I'm like, it was 8:30, yo. She ain't tired.
Your mind don't calculate all the things that you've done. Like,
Yep.
yo, wait, no, I took the trash out. I watched this. I took out the chicken.
And this is
Damn,
how-
what could it be?
and
And
then
it's
the
something from a few days ago.
In
too.
the master
Don't
bathroom.
forget a day.
But listen,
Forget a few days. It's a month ago.
This is how horrible it would be. The master bathroom was in her bedroom. We had 2 bathrooms in the house. The guest bathroom and the
Since
master
you had
bathroom.
no chance.
So she would come and I would go in her room and she would yell at me and she'd be like, go get your clothes to go, babe. I'm like, damn. So I gotta walk past you and get in the shower.
And you know.
And you know what's let's change this. Come on, get back, because I just got
That was a small. But listen, that's a part of mental health too. Because
is.
those things that happen.
Every time I
like,
see a paint stick from Home Depot,
since I see a yardstick, I'm like this.
we had the orange broom.
Who brought this in here? Yo, you ever had a dustpan treated like a boomerang?
Look,
I swear to God, my mother could have been
My
on a small
grandmother-
softball league.
my
Yo,
grandmother
Mama's
shot
on
at
the
HS
bionic.
My grandmother shopped at HS Center. You know them shoes, the ones with the nice rubber on the back with the diamonds. I mean, go ahead, Marley. Go ahead, Marley.
Real, listen, drive the boat. Get the
Come
boat.
on,
Come on,
'cause-
Captain.
Come on, because my heartburn's acting up.
So how
Oh,
can
man.
we erase the stigma that all we need is religion? How can we get past our grandmother and our parents, our grandparents and our parents' way of coping and dealing with things? 'Cause
Honestly,
we're
I
obviously
think
breaking
it's
free
starting.
now.
I
I
think it's
was gonna say,
starting.
I really do.
Because
Like
a lot
right
of
now,
churches,
tonight.
and a lot of
As soon as you
churches,
drop this episode,
right?
I'm gonna
And
deactivate my Facebook.
My favorite,
Me too.
my favorite
Hold
pastor,
on
TD
to it.
Jakes. TD Jakes.
Oh, I love his dog.
Yeah, and they advocate for therapy, and it's just like I think that's what it is.
I don't know them folks, but yes.
It's I think the church has to, because TD Jakes, he's the one where I got it from. He was like, the Lord gave that therapist her license. You get what I mean? He said that.
She
Like,
went
you
to
have to talk. It has to be known. Like, you get what I mean? And then I want everyone to realize, if you honestly think that a lot of religions don't believe in therapy, why do you think people go to marriage counseling with their pastor? That is a form
That
of
is
therapy.
I'm not gonna go there, but I will say I think breaking stigmas.
She said, I'm not going to.
And I'm not going nowhere
I
near
want
the
you
church.
to go there. I want you to go there.
In approximately 17 minutes, I will. But with that, or 13.
Do your math well. Do your math well.
My eyes is bad. The glare is the glare. No, I will say I think breaking stigmas is definitely one, what we're doing right now, being open, being transparent. Because one, being transparent is one, it's like, it feels like you're on the spot because you feel like you're telling everybody your business. You're not. You're just kind of opening a certain piece of you and you're allowing that piece of healing to happen too.
You can imagine how many of your family members went to therapy.
You know what I'm saying? And honestly, I think what happens is when you vocalize and you share your testimony, it's a ripple effect. You might not tell me, or somebody watching this episode, people watching this episode later, they're not gonna tell me. They may not comment and be like, yo, me too. Like I have many friends with children that probably have gone through postpartum depression, didn't know what it was, didn't know that they were experiencing it until they probably got out of it. And seasonal depression, I want to acknowledge that too, is a real thing.
I go through seasonal depression.
It's a real
I go
thing.
through seasonal depression.
And so I think being able to vocalize and say to a friend, a peer, or whatever, you know what, honestly, I'm not doing good right now. I think vocalizing, I think vocalizing, I think transparency, I think honesty, and trying to be open about where you are and your emotional capability. And that means, honestly,
it is okay
friends
to
that confide in you. Listen, that is okay to, if you're that one friend that calls you all the time to emotionally dump, tell her, listen, not today, or tomorrow, or next week, to be honest with you, because I'm energetically I'm not up for it. I'm not up for it. I don't have the capacity for it.
And I actually realized
boundaries.
I actually realized that today because I'm one of those people. I'm either gonna shut down or I'm gonna find something to replace this feeling of whatever it is that I'm feeling. So for me, yes, I'll pray, but I'll meditate and I'll do other things and I'll find different ways to get through it. But I had to realize that today it's like you don't always have to be the person that someone comes to.
You sure
or
don't.
You don't have to.
I realized that this year. No.
And that's big because dumping. We have a lot going on within our own lives, and other people have a lot going within their own lives too. So it's like we have to be more
selfish. It's like what I said.
Not
it's like
selfish,
but there's nothing wrong with being selfish. You have to be.
What I say all the time. You cannot take care of other people if you do not take care of yourself. You need to be selfish. How are you going to get
Willows over here?
How can you give sound advice to a friend if mentally you're not listening to what you're giving out?
All right.
Well, all right. With that being
said, how about to close off? Do you guys think it's a matter of access for Black people, or is it really the stigma that holds us back from going to therapy?
I think it's 50-50. I think we're coming to a point where we're turning over a leaf, where our generation is helping, even past generations. I think our generation and the generation behind us or after us are helping to get to that point where it's like, actually, I'm turning this off. It is okay. I do need therapy. I do want to talk to someone. I do want to be open and vocal. But I do think accessibility is a major thing. But I think if we could share more, or if we could kind of create like an ecosystem of like, hey, listen, here are, for me, like I said earlier, it doesn't have to be a Black therapist, but if so, there are places in there. We should plug this in too, and I think we can. I have a few links and websites where people could. Talkspace, like I said, is definitely one.
There's Talkspace.
We can definitely get
BetterHelp.
Yeah,
there's a lot of places,
and we can certainly be. I think that's a way to release the stigma right there. Is for us to be able to share as young Black women.
I think it's more so access than stigma. I feel like the lack of access caused the stigma, because if you really think about it, back in the day, who did our ancestors really have to tend to go to for therapy?
Their ancestors. The ones before them.
Therapy.
For real.
Therapy was something that was sourced in a more higher, upper class neighborhoods.
Truth.
It wasn't something that was accessible to us. So when you're not used to seeing something, you're going to build a stigma around it. Oh, that's that uppity white people shit. I don't want to use
white
that.
People go to therapy. What you got to tell your business for?
Like, no, not today. Today this Black girl is
and if
going.
You look at it, the only
I got an
reason
appointment.
The only reason why white people went to therapy is because white people could afford it.
A truth. A harsh but truth.
It is what it is.
You get what I mean?
But now we got insurance to cover it. We have affordable.
Take that back. We don't have insurance to cover it.
We have some insurance to cover it, depending on who your insurance is. Okay,
right.
If you have Mass Health, you can certainly get one. But you can start. You can work your way through. Okay. Okay. Payment plans.
All right, guys.
You gotta get into it.
Right. You ain't gotta.
Yes, you. Down the street.
No. Yes, you can through Health Connector. Listen, if you live in the Boston area, no bull. If you have
she's
Mass
telling
Health,
the truth.
I'm about to say, if you have Mass Health, you just gotta you have to. The other thing is, it's not a stigma. You have to do the research. You have to be willing to do the research. You have to look it up. Don't be like, oh, I didn't find nobody because I Google search. Like what?
No, and
I've actually shared, because like I said, I'm really into trying to understand these things. I've actually shared many lists of therapists in the surrounding Boston area. So if you want some, let me know.
We're gonna put them up. We're gonna share y'all some links.
Mhm.
And I want you guys to know, date your therapist.
Yes. Date
Yeah.
around.
Let's be
Shop
clear.
around. Not date them.
don't
Shop
get-
around.
I mean, like, don't get
Shop
involved.
around,
You know what I'm
because
saying?
The
Like,
first person, the first person you
don't have an
put out-
affair. Otherwise, you won't be in therapy.
The
A
first,
marriage counselor with the therapist.
The first
and
person-
your pastor.
Can you stop? Stop it.
Y'all all sitting on the couch like,
Come on, in the room.
well, I cheated on her because she came to see me about him, and now we all here.
The
so
first person you sit down and talk to may not always be the best bet.
Or
If
second
your
or third.
spirit, if your spirit doesn't take to them,
you don't have to stay.
you
You
do
don't.
not.
It's
You
just
want
like a
And
relationship.
a lot of therapists will not tell you that first visit is free.
It's a
It's a consultation. It is an info session. Do not let
And it might be uncomfortable.
Right, because they'll ask a lot of questions.
And some of them will ask you, how do you want to pay for this first meeting? Is this not a consultation?
Be clear. Know your rights.
No, you have to know. But
But we're going to share the links, and we're definitely going to share those tidbits because those are important. Because some people really don't know that.
And let me tell you,
Or they're afraid to ask because they're already nervous about being there in the first place. So
and do not let your therapist bully you into booking another visit. A lot
right,
of
if
thera-
that ain't it, that ain't it.
yeah,
that's not it.
period.
But to
What's that?
close
Period
off,
poo? Ugh.
Your therapist, just remember, your therapist works for you. Your therapist is
Yeah,
for
because
you.
They already got their hand in your pocket, so don't forget that.
to close off, I think
Let me stop substance abuse.
Tamara, she's trying to close off
she's
for the
trying to
ninth
leave.
time.
Right. So to close off, I think being open to finding someone who works for you is definitely a start, and just knowing what works for you. Have the conversation with yourself before going there.
Right.
If like
Being
Tamara
willing
said,
to do the groundwork for
yeah,
yourself.
you have to do the groundwork because
Being
you're not
willing
gonna.
to be
You don't want to
open.
go there and they're like, well, what do you want to talk about? Because that was one of the main things that took me when I first looked. What is it that you're here for?
Huh?
And
I
it is
didn't
okay.
know. Like, I
It's
didn't know
okay.
exactly what it was
And you
that I
need to
needed.
be okay to say, I don't know.
That's why.
And that's how you start to unravel and
Mhm.
unpack these issues.
Why are you here? I don't know.
And then
But
you
I
can start
know I
from
should
there.
be here.
Yeah, and you start from there. But also, we do have to take into consideration that we have to be like therapists, but I saw a post earlier this week where it was like a lot of people, but a lot of people end up, committing suicide because, it's more gossip going on rather than helping. So I think that's one major thing because,
All right. And on that note, this is Talk So What. Come on.
we
That's the
gotta
truth.
respect people's privacies
Yeah,
as well, and
that's the truth.
it's
In the age of
That's-
social media, respect
yes,
privacy.
please.
Right, do your
But
best. And stop
I'm a
sharing these
believer.
people getting beat and abused and stuff.
Oh, that's a
And
whole.
sharing
That's,
people's
that's
lives, man,
another.
like,
That's
oh my
another
God.
episode.
to close off, yes,
I'm
that
addicted
is
to
that.
Susan.
Thank you for joining us on this lovely episode of Toxic Wine.
Yes, this was great.
I am your host, Marley. How you guys feeling?
I am.
Take a deep breath. Listen.
Truth is, I'm tired.
Sometimes.
Options are few.
Honestly, I just want to take me to
The king.
the king.
Bye, guys.
Have a good night, guys. Don't forget to follow us on Spotify, Instagram, Facebook, and subscribe.
On YouTube.
Yes.
Oh, I felt good on
Talks
that
with
one.
wine.
Have a good night.
Good night.